Steve from Minecraft can punch down trees, carry literal tons of gold in his pockets, and defeat interdimensional dragons. But how would he fare against cinema's most terrifying monsters? Well, I've analyzed his chances against 9 nightmare creatures from different horror movies, and the results might shock you, especially when we get to the final monster that would make even the Ender Dragon look like a friendly pet. If you're hoping Steve survives this blocky bloodbath, go ahead and craft that like button with your diamond pickaxe, and mind the subscribe button if you want to see more content just like this. Don't worry, it just takes one click, which is a lot easier than fighting a wither and a horror monster at the same time. The Shimmer from the movie Annihilation is one of the weirdest monsters you'll ever see, because it's not really a monster at all. It's more like a big, colorful bubble that changes everything inside. Oh, that kind of sounds kind of cute when you think about it. Well, this freaky phenomenon started when a meteor crashed into a lighthouse in Florida, because of course it happened in Florida. For 3 whole years, this rainbow zone kept getting bigger, swallowing up everything in its path, just like your mother. The government sent teams to check it out, but almost nobody came back, and those who did, they weren't the same people anymore. See, the Shimmer doesn't just kill you, it remakes you. It twists your DNA like Play-Doh, turning people into plant people and animals into nightmare fuel. That's a bear. Remember that bear with human screams? Yeah, that's the stuff of therapy sessions. I just wish the Shimmer was real so it could make me less ugly, but that's not gonna happen. So how would Steve's blocky body hold up against this reality-bending light show? Well, Steve does have some impressive survival skills. He can punch trees, craft tools, and even take on dragons. He's also got flint and steel. He's got enchanted armor, potions, and golden apples that heal him. Plus, the dude can carry like 1,000 blocks of gold in his pockets without breaking a sweat. But the Shimmer isn't your average creeper or chicken jockey. It doesn't fight you. It changes you on a cellular level. Steve's armor might stop arrows, but can it stop his DNA from getting scrambled like eggs at breakfast? The Shimmer doesn't care about your diamond sword or bow. It just patiently waits while you slowly become something else entirely. And unlike most Minecraft mobs, you can't just turn the difficulty to peaceful mode to make the Shimmer disappear. Imagine Steve, fresh from mining diamonds, wandering into this shimmering barrier. At first, you might think it's just a cool new biome update. Rainbow colors are pretty, mutated plants look like weird new flowers to collect. He'd probably start cataloging all the new blocks that he could gather. But as days pass in the Shimmer, things get weird. The flowers start looking a bit too much like human faces. The animals stop making sense. Is that a pig with crystal antlers? Steve would keep trying to mine and craft his way through this challenge, setting up a little base with a crafting table and a furnace. He might even try to tame some of the creatures he finds, but all the while, the Shimmer would be quietly rewriting his blocky code, changing him pixel by pixel from the inside out. Let's cut to the chase. Steve wouldn't survive the Shimmer, not intact anyways. Within days, he'd start to notice strange changes. Maybe his arms would start sprouting flowers, or his skin would develop reflective patterns like the Shimmer itself. By week 2, he might be able to place blocks without touching them, his connection to the world changing fundamentally. The final stage would be the complete transformation, either becoming part of the environment like Josie in the film, who turned into a plant person, or becoming a twisted reflection of himself. True horror isn't death, it's that some version of Steve might continue to exist, wandering the Shimmer forever. No longer the same character we know, he'd be like the Kane duplicate from the movie, looking the same on the outside but fundamentally changed on the inside. The reason Steve can't beat the Shimmer is simple. It's not a fight he can win with tools or weapons. The Shimmer isn't malicious. It's just a natural process that changes everything it touches. Even if Steve tried to beat it by destroying the lighthouse at its center like Lena did in the movie, he'd still be forever changed from his time inside. The Shimmer's power to refract and recombine DNA isn't something that you can block with armor or heal with a potion. Now, the Shimmer might rewrite your DNA and turn you into a flower statue, but at least it does it with pretty rainbow colors. Our next monster, well, let's just say that if you're eating right now, you might want to put down that sandwich, because Raatma from VHS 94 makes the Shimmer look like a day at the spa. Raatma, which just saying the name makes me want to gargle with bleach, yeah, the sewer-dwelling monstrosity from VHS 94 is what happens when you flush your nightmares down the toilet and they decide to come back with friends. Raatma isn't your typical monster. He's a rat-human hybrid god thingy with a cult of grimy followers who worship him from the stinky underbelly of Westerville, Ohio. Of course it's Ohio! And his most charming quality, he and his cult buddies can projectile vomit black acidic bile that literally melts your face off. Yummy! And if you're thinking, well, at least he stays in the sewers, think again. Raatma's influence spreads through his hypnotic powers, which turns normal people into chanting bile-puking cultists who just can't stop saying his name. So how would our blocky buddy Steve fare against this subterranean subterranean sludge lord. Steve's pretty good at mining underground, right? Well, he's spent countless hours digging through caves, avoiding lava, and fighting off skeletons in the dark. He's got torches for light, weapons for combat, and can craft anything from a wooden shovel to an enchanted diamond sword. But here's the thing, Minecraft caves are relatively clean and monster-free unless it's dark. Raatma's domain? Yeah, it's like something took the grossest public bathroom you've ever seen and multiplied it by 1,000. All of those hours Steve spent keeping his Minecraft inventory perfectly organized won't help you when you're knee-dust in sewer water with bile-vomiting cultists around every corner. Picture this, Steve, armed with his trusty diamond sword and wearing his best armor, decides to expand his mining operation into what he thinks is just another cave system. As he places torches along the way, he notices the walls look different. Not the usual stone blocks, but something grimy and wet. The sound effects would change too. They wouldn't be the familiar drips and bat squeaks, but disenchanting. Raatma, Raatma. Being the curious explorer he is, Steve pushes forward until the narrow tunnel opens into a wide chamber. There, surrounded by black, goo-covered figures, sits Raatma on a throne of garbage and bones. Before Steve can even raise his sword, a cultist projectile vomits that corrosive black bile straight at him. Would Steve survive this nightmare? Not likely, folks. First off, that acidic bile would melt through even diamond armor faster than a creeper can say and while Steve could try to fight his way out, he'd be quickly overwhelmed by the sheer number of cultists in Raatma's home turf. But the real killer? That hypnotic mind control. Minecraft Steve has no resistance stats against psychological manipulation. He's a guy who punches trees all day. So, you know, not exactly the pinnacle of mental fortitude. Within minutes of exposure to Raatma's influence, our blocky boy would be just another chanting cultist, eyes glazed over as he mumbles Raatma, while black goo drips from his pixelated mouth. The saddest part, nobody would even know what happened to him. Just like Holly, the reporter who got converted in the movie, Steve would eventually return to the surface, seeming normal at first. Maybe he'd go back to his little wooden house, arrange his chests, and tend to his farm. But something would be off. His movements would be jerky, his eyes vacant, and then when other players came to visit, they'd get the surprise of their blocky lives. A face full of corrosive bile and a new invitation to join the cult of Raatma. Minecraft servers would fall one by one until every player was just another vessel chanting Raatma into their headsets. And you thought griefing was bad. Sewer rat gods might give Steve nightmares, but at least he could try to run away. Our next monster though, it literally owns the forest. You know, the place where Steve gets his wood. Never mind. And trust me, Motor from the Ritual isn't interested in helping him complete his IKEA furniture collection. Forests in Minecraft are pretty chill places. Punch some trees, maybe find a wolf to tame, watch out for the occasional spider, good times. Well, the forest in the horror movie, The Ritual, not so much. That's where Motor lives. And Motor doesn't want your wood. Pause. She wants your worship. This ancient Norse nightmare is basically what happens when Loki has had a really bad hangover and decides to make a baby with an elk. Because that makes a lot of sense. Loki, why would you do that? Why'd you do that to the poor elk? Motor is huge, with a skeletal deer-like head, antlers that would make even the most impressive trophy hunters wet themselves, and here's the really messed up part, human hands growing out of her head. Because apparently regular monster parts weren't terrifying enough. What makes Motor extra special in the monster department is her shopping list. She doesn't want to kill you. She wants to break you mentally, make you kneel, and then keep you around as part of her forever worshiping fan club. Her method? She digs into your deepest traumas and fears, making you relive your worst memories while she stalks you through her forest. Her cult of followers? Yeah, they're all former hikers who said yes to her job offer instead of becoming lunch. Benefits include immortality, but the downside is you slowly decay while living in a cabin in the woods with no Wi-Fi, which is like the worst remote work setup ever if you ask me. So let's drop Steve into this nightmare forest. At first, he'd feel right at home. Trees to punch, maybe some mushrooms to collect for stew. This is just like any other Minecraft biome, he'd think, swinging his pixelated arms at the nearest oak tree. But Motor doesn't take kindly to deforestation, Steve. The first sign of trouble would be strange rune-like markings carved into trees, which are similar to the ones in the movie. Steve, being Steve, would probably try to mine them, thinking there's some new kind of of wood block he hasn't discovered yet. Night falls, and Steve builds a quick shelter. Just a basic box of dirt, because that's how most of us spend our first Minecraft night. But as darkness sets in, the hallucinations begin. But wait, what would Steve even see? Does he have trauma? The guy respawns every time he dies, so death probably doesn't scare him. Maybe Motor would show him visions of all his abandoned Minecraft worlds, all those half-finished projects he started and never returned to. Remember this dirt house you never upgraded? And this mine shaft where you got lost and just started a new world instead? You monster! Or maybe she would show him Herobrine. Steve would grab his sword and venture out to fight whatever's causing these weird visions. That's when he'd see her, towering between the trees, antlers scraping the sky, those humid hands flexing on her head. Steve, being the brave blocky boy he is, would charge right in, diamond sword swinging, and this is where things get ugly. See, Motor isn't some zombie or skeleton that goes down with a few sword swipes. In the movie, she tanks an axe to the body and keeps going. Steve's weapons would hurt her, sure, but they wouldn't stop her, and unlike most Minecraft mobs, Motor is intelligent. She wouldn't just mindlessly chase Steve in a straight line like a zombie does. She'd stalk, strategize, and most importantly, she'd cut off his escape routes. The one advantage Steve has is his building ability. He could tower up or dig down, which are classic Minecraft escape techniques, but Motor controls her forest. Those trees Steve loves to punch, well, they're her eyes and ears. That dirt he's digging through, she can sense his vibrations. There's no hiding in Motor's domain. Eventually, exhausted and low on health, Steve would face the choice all of Motor's victims face: kneel or die. And while our diamond mining hero is brave, even he would eventually break under Motor's psychological warfare. The best case scenario, Steve becomes the newest member of Motor's cult, living in a decaying state for an eternity, forced to trap other players who wander into the forest. The worst case, he becomes another sacrifice, impaled on the branches of Motor's sacred trees. The only sliver of hope for Steve would be if he managed to reach the edge of the forest. Motor's one weakness is that she can't leave her domain, but her forest in the movie stretches for miles, and she knows every inch of it. Steve might be a marathon miner, but his chances of outrunning a god in her own territory are slimmer than a 1-block wide bridge over lava. Forest gods might be terrifying, but at least Steve can see the trees. Our next monster lurks where Steve spends half his Minecraft life, underground. And these graboids from Tremors don't care about your diamonds. They're after something much juicier: your blocky little body. If you've ever watched Tremors, you know graboids are basically the world's worst underground neighbors. These massive worm monsters are like landlords from hell. They'll burst through your floor without warning, and they'll definitely won't give you back your security deposit. Graboids are huge prehistoric worm creatures that live underground and hunt by feeling vibrations in the soil. Think of them as like blind underground sharks with really bad attitudes. They've got 3 snake-like tongues with mouths on them that grab you and pull you under faster than you can say, "I should have built my house on wooden stilts." Now, Steve spends like half his Minecraft life underground, right? He's the ultimate miner, digging for diamonds, avoiding lava, and building elaborate tunnel systems. You might think that gives him the home field advantage against the graboids, and you'd be wrong. So wrong. See, what Steve does best, mining, walking, jumping, placing torches, is exactly what would get him killed in graboid territory. These monsters hunt by detecting the tiniest vibrations. Every block Steve mines would be like ringing a dinner bell. Fresh cube-shaped meat, come and get it. Let's picture the scenario. Steve is doing his usual mining thing, happily chipping away at stone blocks, looking for iron and diamonds. He's got his trusty pickaxe, maybe some armor, and he's just vibing in his tunnel, having a good time. Then the ground rumbles. Not like a zombie groan rumble, like a something big is moving down there rumble. Before you can say, creepa, oh man, the floor beneath him cracks open. 3 snake-like tongues shoot up, and poor Steve gets yanked down faster than when your mom checks your browser history when you leave the room. Would Steve survive? I'm actually gonna surprise you here. He might. Unlike our previous monsters, graboids have very clear, established weaknesses that line up surprisingly well with Steve's abilities. First off, graboids can't break through solid rock. They need dirt or sand to move through. Guess who can build solid rock platforms instantly? Our boy Steve. He could easily create safe zones where graboids can't reach him. Second, graboids hunt by sensing vibrations, but they're not very smart. In the movies, the characters trick them by making noise in one spot, then running to another. Steve could throw items to distract them or use TNT, which he has plenty of, to confuse or even kill them. There's actually a scene in Tremors where they blow up a graboid with explosives, which is right up Steve's alley. Third, and most importantly, graboids can't climb. They're strictly ground dwellers. Steve, meanwhile, can build vertical towers in seconds. He'd also easily get to safety by towering up, as Minecraft players call it, or standing on any tall structure. The real challenge would be if Steve got caught underground in a tight space. Graboids are fast and can surround you quickly, but even then, Steve has an ace up his sleeve that the characters in Tremors didn't. He can literally break and place blocks at will. Trapped in a tunnel with a graboid coming? No problem. Just mine upward or create a quick stone barrier. Steve would definitely need to adapt his usual mining style. Yeah, no more carelessly running around underground. He'd need to place stone paths everywhere he walks and stay vigilant. But with his block placing abilities, an arsenal of weapons, and experience dealing with hostile mobs, I think Steve could not just survive, but actually thrive in graboid territory. He might even turn the tables and start farming them for whatever weird drops a Minecraft graboid would have. But the only real danger would be if Steve got too cocky or careless. Graboids learn quickly and adapt to repeated tricks, so if Steve relied on the same strategy too many times, he might find himself outmaneuvered by what's essentially a giant dirt swimming worm with an attitude problem. But overall, of all the monsters we've covered so far, graboids might be the best match for Steve's particular set of skills, just as long as he remembers the golden rule. Underground worms might make mining a challenge, but at least they play by some rules. Our next monster literally has Predator in its name, and it's not hunting deer. The Predator from, well, Predator has killed elite Special Force soldiers without breaking a sweat, and Steve's blocky little head would make a perfect trophy for its alien wall. The Predator isn't just another movie monster, it's the ultimate hunter from outer space. This dreadlocked alien travels across galaxies just to find worthy opponents to kill and collect their skulls like twisted trophies. Talk about an expensive hobby. The Predator has some seriously unfair advantages. It can turn nearly invisible with its cloaking device, see in thermal vision through its fancy mask, and shoot plasma blasts that can turn trees into toothpicks. Oh, and those wrist blades? Yeah, they're sharper than a diamond sword and can slice through steel like it's warm butter. This thing hunted down and killed an entire elite military squad led by this guy. The guy whose biceps are bigger than most people's heads. So how would blocky little Steve compare to Dutch's commando team? Well, Steve can carry thousands of pounds of gold and doesn't skip arm day since he's constantly punching trees. He's got some decent weapons too. Diamond swords, enchanted bows, and even TNT if he's feeling spicy. But let's be real here. There's a pretty big difference between fighting zombies that walk in straight lines and battling an intelligent alien hunter that's been perfecting its killing techniques for centuries. Steve's biggest advantage might be his respawn ability, but I'm pretty sure finding your severed head mounted in a Predator spaceship counts as a permadeath situation. Imagine the scene. Steve is happily building his wooden mansion in the forest, placing blocks and humming whatever song block people hum. Suddenly, he notices 3 red dots on his chest. Before he can even reach for his sword, a plasma blast turns his crafting table into splinters. Steve ducks behind a tree, pulls out a bow, and fires wildly at the forest. But how do you hit what you can't see? Well, the Predator would be watching for the trees, analyzing Steve's movements and studying his weapons. Is this blocky human worthy prey? Well, the alien hunter might be confused at first by Steve's unusual square appearance. Maybe it even wonders if he's actually facing some kind of new robot. But the fight wouldn't be completely one-sided. Steve has survived countless nights against monster hordes, defeated the Ender Dragon, and even taken down the Wither. He's resourceful and can build defenses quickly, but the Predator is patient. It would watch Steve build his little dirt bunker or cobblestone tower, then either blast it apart or simply wait until Steve has come out for more resources. The thermal vision would render Steve's hiding attempts useless, unless, because here's where things get interesting. In the original Predator movie, Arnold's character discovers that mud masks his body heat, making him invisible to the Predator's thermal vision. Steve could potentially use this same trick. He could cover himself in mud blocks or clay, the closest Minecraft equivalent, and gain a temporary advantage. Combined with his ability to dig tunnels and set traps, Steve might actually survive longer than you'd expect. But surviving longer doesn't mean winning. The Predator's technology is thousands of years beyond anything in Minecraft. Those plasma blasts would tear through even diamond armor. The cloaking device means Steve would be fighting an enemy he can barely see. And unlike most Minecraft mobs that follow simple patterns, the Predator learns and adapts to its prey's tactics. So the most likely outcome, after a brief but impressive resistance, maybe Steve lands a few hits with his enchanted bow, the Predator would eventually corner our blocky hero. There would be a moment of respect. The alien might even remove its mask to look at this strange warrior with its own eyes. Then, with surgical precision, the Predator would claim its unusual trophy. Later, hanging in the trophy room of the Predator's ship, Steve's blocky head would be a conversation starter. The only scenario where Steve might survive is if the Predator deemed him unworthy prey. Maybe it would see him punching trees and decide this square creature is simply too strange or dumb to hunt. But given that the Predator has hunted everything everything from armed soldiers to unarmed civilians to literal xenomorphs, it's hard to imagine Steve getting a pass. Sorry, Minecraft fans, but even with all of his crafting skills, Steve would ultimately just be another trophy for the galaxy's deadliest hunter. The Predator hunts with claws, blades, and plasma. Physical weapons you can at least try to fight, but our next horror villain, King Paimon from Hereditary, doesn't care about your diamond armor because he's after something else entirely, your soul. And there's no crafting recipe to protect you against that. King Paimon isn't your typical jump scare monster that you can bonk on the head with a diamond sword. He's a little demon king from an ancient society who commands 200 legions of spirits. In Hereditary, he doesn't just kill people. He systematically destroys entire family bloodlines to get what he wants, a male body to possess. Think of him as the world's worst roommate who doesn't just want to crash on your couch. He wants to take your entire body and kick your soul out completely. His followers don't mind sacrificing everyone you've ever loved to make this happen either. What a bunch of jerks, am I right? They'll cut off heads, set people on fire, and make you sleepwalk onto the ceiling just to prep your body for their demon overlord. Talk about dedication. So how would our blocky buddy Steve fare against this supernatural threat? Not great, folks. Steve has a lot of skills. He can mine diamonds, craft enchanted swords, and build entire castles by himself. But what enchantment protects against demonic possession? Is there a binding anti-demon spell I missed in the enchantment table? Steve might be able to fight off zombies and creepers, but King Paimon doesn't play by Minecraft's rules. Paimon doesn't care about your health bar or hunger meter. He'll just manipulate events around you until you're perfectly positioned for possession. Plus, Steve is male, which makes him exactly what Paimon is shopping for in a new body. It's like having a possess me sign taped to his blocky back. Imagine this scenario. Steve is living his best Minecraft life when strange things start happening. Maybe he notices weird symbols carved into trees that he definitely didn't place there. His animals start acting weird. Chickens gathering in perfect circles, sheep staring at him while he sleeps. He might build a new house to get away, only to wake up and find himself sleepwalking on top of it. And who's that strange player that keeps appearing at a distance but disappears when he gets too close? That's Herobrine. Just kidding. That's the cult of Paimon, setting up their perfect conditions for their king to enter. Poor Steve wouldn't even know what's happening. Minecraft doesn't have sanity meters or psychological horror elements. He tried to solve the problem the only way he knows how, by crafting more stuff. Maybe if I build a bigger house, the weird things will stop. Spoiler alert, they won't. The cult would plant their little totems and symbols around his world, each one bringing Paimon closer. Steve might notice his controls acting funny, moving when he didn't press anything, crafting items he didn't select. That's not lag, buddy. That's the beginning of possession. The outcome? Steve wouldn't just die. He'd become a vessel for King Paimon. Imagine logging into your Minecraft world and finding Steve standing perfectly still, staring directly at your scene. Then his head slowly tilts at an impossible angle, and a message appears in chat. Hail Paimon. Game over, man. Game over. What makes King Paimon truly unbeatable for Steve is the fundamental difference in their worlds. Minecraft is a world of clear rules, direct challenges, and physical solutions. See a zombie? Hit it with a sword. Need a house? Build one. King Paimon exists in a reality where family trauma, psychological manipulation, and ancient occult forces are the weapons. Steve has no defense against a cult that's willing to decapitate his Minecraft dog and put the head on a mannequin as part of a ritual. He has no experience with enemies that attack through dreams and psychological breakdown rather than with swords or explosions. Even if Steve tried to fight back, what would he do? Build a church? Craft a cross? Sorry, but those aren't standard Minecraft items. And unlike the Graham family in the movie, Steve doesn't even have the awareness to realize what's happening until it's far too late. By the time he realizes something's wrong, Paimon would already be measuring his body for demonic possession. The only saving grace might be that Paimon would find Steve's cubic form confusing. Like, let's be real, he's gonna want a body that has fingers. Steve doesn't really have fingers, he's just got nubs. Demons might be scary, but at least they want something specific. Our next monster, the other mother from Coraline, just wants to love you to death. And our twisted version of the Minecraft world might be the most disturbing thing we've seen yet, button eyes not included. The other mother from Coraline might just be the creepiest monster on our list because she doesn't look like a monster at all. She's a baddie. Just kidding. She's not a monster at first. She looks like a perfect version of your mom, just with one tiny difference. Her eyes are shiny black black buttons. Yikes! The Beldam, as she's also called, creates a whole parallel world that's basically a Pinterest-perfect version of reality. Everything's better in the other world. The food is tastier, the neighbors are more entertaining, and everyone pays attention to you. It's like getting the Battle Pass version of your life when you've been stuck with the free-to-play version. But there's a catch, isn't there always? To stay forever, you just need to let her sew buttons into your eyes and steal your soul. A small price to play for unlimited cookies, right? Wrong. So how would Steve match up against this crafty soul-stealing seamstress? At first glance, you might think Steve has the advantage. He's a survivor who's faced dragons and zombies, but the other mother doesn't fight fair. She fights psychological. Steve spends most of his time alone in Minecraft. No parents, no real friends, except maybe a dog or a parrot if he's tamed one, and the other mother would exploit that loneliness faster than kids asking for your diamonds in multiplayer. Steve's strength is building and crafting, but the other mother's whole shtick is creating a perfect copy of your world. She can't create original things. She can only twist what already exists, but that's more than enough to fool someone whose entire life revolves around placing blocks. Picture this. After another long day of mining alone, Steve returns to his humble wooden house. But wait, there's a tiny trapdoor in the wall that definitely wasn't there before. Curiosity gets the better of him, as it always does with players, and he crawls through. On the other side, a perfect copy of his Minecraft world, but better. The trees drop extra wood when punched. The mines are filled with diamonds just waiting to be collected. His house is now a magnificent castle, and there to greet him is himself. But this other Steve has button eyes and offers to show him around this amazing new world. "Like what you see?" asks a voice behind him. It's the other mother, but she might appear as a female Steve or even Alex with button eyes. "I've been waiting for you. You must be hungry after all of that mining." She leads him to a table piled high with golden apples, cake, and all of his favorite Minecraft foods. "You can stay here forever if you like. We can build together, mine together. You never have to be alone again. There's just one small thing." She holds up 2 black buttons and a spool of thread. Would Steve survive this encounter? Well, this is a tough one. The other mother is essentially offering Steve everything a Minecraft player wants: unlimited resources, perfect builds, and companionship. It would be extremely tempting, but Steve has one advantage Coraline didn't have. He's used to weird hostile worlds with hidden dangers. He's naturally suspicious of things that seem too good to be true. Like that time you found diamonds right next to your spawn point. Admit it, you probably thought it was a trap too. The key would be whether Steve notices the limitations of the other world before it's too late. The other mother can only copy what she sees. She can't truly understand Minecraft's mechanics or possibilities. Maybe Steve would notice that redstone doesn't work quite right, or that the mobs behave too predictably. Once he realizes something's wrong, his experience with puzzles and escape situations would help him tremendously. If Steve refused the buttons, the other mother would show her true form: a spidery, needle-fingered nightmare. She'd transform her perfect world into a decaying trap. But here's where Steve's building skills would actually help him. Just like Coraline had to find the souls of the other mother's previous victims, Steve would need to navigate a crumbling, hostile version of his beloved Minecraft world. He'd need to mine, craft, and build his way to freedom, using the very skills that have kept him alive all this time. In the end, I think Steve actually stands a decent chance against the other mother. Not because he's stronger, but because he's exactly the kind of resourceful, puzzle-solving explorer who could find the hidden souls, locate the escape door, and maybe even trap the other mother's hand in a wickedly clever redstone contraption. It wouldn't be easy. He'd face a nightmare version of everything he knows and loves, but if a determined little girl with no special powers could defeat the Beldam, our blocky friend might just make it out with his soul intact, though he'd probably have nightmares about the buttons for the rest of his life. Button-eyed spider mommies might give Steve the creeps, but our next monster would make him feel like he accidentally set the world difficulty to impossibly hardcore. Godzilla doesn't just destroy blocks, he flattens entire cities with one stomp, and I'm pretty sure creative mode wouldn't save you from atomic breath. Let's talk about Godzilla, shall we? Yeah, I'm not talking about the friendly lizard from those newer movies who sometimes helps people. I'm talking about the original, 1954, I hate humans because you woke me up with a nuke, Godzilla. This radioactive dinosaur stands over 300 feet tall, weighs more than 20,000 tons, which is almost more than your mother, and has skin so tough that tanks, jets, and missiles just bounce off him like ping pong balls. His atomic breath doesn't just toast marshmallows, it melts entire city blocks in seconds. Godzilla doesn't have a scary lair or creepy psychological trick. He is the disaster. When he shows up, cities don't get damaged, they get erased from the map. So how would Steve, our block punching hero, fare against the king of monsters? Well, about as well as a sandwich at a Weight Watchers meeting. Steve's greatest accomplishment is killing the Ender Dragon, which is impressive until you realize that the Godzilla makes that dragon look like a pet lizard. To put things in perspective, Steve gets hurt falling more than 3 blocks. Godzilla gets nuked and walks it off. There's a slight power difference there, don't you think? But let's humor ourselves and imagine this ridiculous matchup. Picture Steve happily building his little Minecraft town, placing blocks one by one, maybe making a nice wheat farm. Then the ground starts shaking. Trees topple, water ripples like that cup scene from Jurassic Park. Over the horizon rises Godzilla, except in Minecraft scale. He'd be like 50 blocks tall. Steve might think, no problem, I've fought monsters before. He whips out his enchanted diamond sword and heads to battle. Godzilla doesn't even notice the tiny blue pixel poking at his toe. Maybe Steve gets smarter. He builds a TNT cannon, the pride of any Minecraft engineer. He fires his best shot, and Godzilla's skin isn't even scratched. Remember, this is a creature that survived hydrogen bombs. Your little TNT blocks are like throwing popcorn at a rhino. What about potions? I hear you asking. Sure, Steve could brew a potion of harming or poison. And where exactly is he gonna throw it? Godzilla's ankle? Even if Steve somehow managed to build a tower tall enough to reach Godzilla's face, which would take ages, one swipe of those massive claws would send our blocky friend flying into the stratosphere. The only scenario where Steve survives is if he runs fast and far. Maybe he could dig underground and hide while Godzilla stomps around looking for more interesting things to destroy. But that's not winning. That's just not losing immediately. Eventually, Steve would need to surface, and Godzilla has been known to hang around irradiated areas for decades. In the 1954 movie, scientists had to invent a whole new super weapon called the Oxygen Destroyer to defeat Godzilla, a device so terrible that its inventor committed game over to prevent itself from being ever used again. Minecraft has a lot of crafting recipes, but Oxygen Destroyer isn't among them. Even in creative mode, where Steve has access to every block and item, there's nothing remotely powerful enough to take down Godzilla. The brutal truth, this fight would last exactly as long as it takes Godzilla to notice there's a tiny square person running around. One stomp, one tail swipe, or one blast of atomic breath, and there wouldn't be enough of Steve left to respawn. His only consolation prize would be becoming the first Minecraft character to be defeated by something other than a creeper or a stupid lava mistake. At least that's kind of an achievement, right? Godzilla might be the king of physical destruction, but our final monster proves that sometimes the smallest threats are the most disturbing. The pale man from Pan's Labyrinth doesn't need atomic breath. He just needs you to break one simple rule. And let's be honest, how many of you have been following the rules in a video game? The pale man might be the creepiest monster on our list, not because what he can do, but because what he makes you do. This nightmare from Pan's Labyrinth doesn't hunt you down like most monsters. No, he sits perfectly still at a banquet table loading with delicious food, just waiting. What's scary about that? Well, for starters, he has no eyes on his face, just loose skin where eyes should be. Instead, his eyeballs rest on a plate in front of him. Someone breaks the rule and eats from his table. He wakes up, places those eyeballs into the palms of his hands, and then chases them down to eat them. Oh, and his dining room walls are decorated with paintings of him eating children, with piles of tiny shoes in the corner of his previous victims. Subtle home decor really brings the room together, you know? Now, how would Steve handle this fairy tale nightmare? Let's consider what we know about both of them. Steve is basically a resource gathering machine. His whole existence revolves around mining materials and collecting food. See a tree? Punch it. See an ore? Mine it. See food? Eat it. The pale man, meanwhile, is the ultimate trap for the greedy. He punishes those who take what isn't theirs, specifically food from his table. See the problem here? Steve's entire gameplay loop is see resource, take resource, craft resource, use resource. He doesn't do well with look and don't touch scenarios. It's like putting a toddler in a candy store and saying, just look at it. Let's imagine Steve wandering into the pale man's lair. After mining for hours, his hunger bar would be low, maybe just a few drumsticks left. He enters a strange stone room with a massive feast spread out on a table. In one corner sits a pale, skinny figure, motionless. Any reasonable person would think, creepy statue, loaded table, maybe I shouldn't touch anything. But Steve, his first instinct would be to check if these roast chickens and golden apples have a hitbox he can can interact with. And the second his blocky hands grab that first grape or bread roll, slam. The pale man's hands slap onto the table as he rises from the chair. Would Steve survive this encounter? I'm skeptical. His first problem would be recognizing the threat. Minecraft doesn't have many monsters that activate based on player actions like taking items. Most mobs either attack on sight or when provoked directly. The concept of a consequence for breaking a rule is foreign to Minecraft's gameplay. By the time Steve realizes his mistake, the pale man would already be wobbling toward him at surprising speed, hands outstretched with those eyeballs tracking his every move. Steve's combat experience wouldn't help much either. The pale man isn't like a zombie or skeleton that you can just whack with a sword until it dies. He's more like a force of nature, a consequence personified. In the movie, Ophelia doesn't defeat him through combat. She escapes by following the rules she initially broke. She uses the magical chalk to create a doorway back to safety. Does Steve have an equivalent escape plan? Maybe if he had an ender pearl to teleport away, or if he quickly built a nether portal. But that assumes he'd had the presence of mind to do so while being chased by a hand-eyed monster straight out of a fever dream. The most likely outcome is grim. Steve takes food, pale man wakes up, Steve tries fighting back with his sword, realizes it's ineffective, panics, and gets caught. The next unfortunate explorer to enter that chamber would find a pile of tiny cubic shoes in the corner. So there you have it. Out of 9 horrifying movie monsters, Steve might only survive the graboids and possibly the other mother if he's clever enough. The rest, they turn our blocky hero into either a pile of cubes, a brainwashed cultist, a demon vessel, or a trophy on some alien's wall. It makes fighting the Ender Dragon seem like a peaceful day of fishing, doesn't it? If you like this video, I'd love to make more videos just like this in the future because this is a brand new concept. Hit the like button and comment down below which character you want to see survive more horror movie monsters. If this video gets lots of love, I'll do whatever the top comment says. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, and if you want to watch another video just like this, click the video on screen now.